Hello, my powerful posse, and welcome back to Purple RX. It's your girl Renata, your friendly and resourceful PharmD, here to help you navigate this health and wellness world to find out what exactly is for you, because not everything is for you and you aren't for everything. This is not a regularly scheduled video. As you can see, I just got out of working out and there was something on my brain, something on my mind, something on my heart. And it's something that I've been going through or I've had to determine for myself. And the question is, who are you living for? What sparked this was I wasn't even watching the show. I was going through my YouTube, of course, going through my whole For You page or What's New page. And I was looking and I saw this clip from VH1 Love and Hip Hop Miami. I don't even watch that show. I don't even watch none of the shows. Most of my stuff is like Hulu, all that stuff, watching movies or a TV show like that, if I watch anything. So I don't watch Love and Hip Hop specifically, but I remember I saw a clip last week about Marla Negra. And it was a clip that was like, it spoke to me because it was like, a lot of us go through this. Her mother was sitting there, she was having a conversation with her mother and her boyfriend. And her mother was like, I sacrificed this for you. You did this and you're just gonna leave it all behind. I did this, I did that, I did this. And you're just gonna do this. You always do this for a man. Okay. And so I saw that clip and I was like, oh, some of that kind of sounds familiar. Some of that kind of sounds like this or sounds like that. And I was like, it sounds very much like her mother is trying. Her mother was like, I did this. I left this country and a man who impregnated with me to get away from this. So it sounded like her mother was just projecting the things that she had a fear of or some things that happened to her that she never really healed. Her mom was projecting that on her. And then I guess they move on to the next episode and I saw another clip and I was like, I wonder what this is going. Now what she's going to say. Oh, her mom is going back to Miami. Now she's going back with her mom because her mom, she feels pressured. And then her boyfriend's getting mad and he's like, well, you just living for your mom. And she's like, well, you just living for this nigga. And they are so much alike. I'm asking who we're living for because in so many circumstances, even in my own circumstance, I was in a situation where I chose to go to the school I went to. I chose to go to Xavier. 15 years old, I went on a college tour and I was like, yep, this is the place I'm going to. 15 years old. We went on a college tour. I was like, this is where I'm going to. This is a school I'm going to. I know I want to go to. I want to be a doctor, blah, blah, blah. They're known for sending black students to this, that, and this. Nobody in my family that I recall has gone to an HBCU. So I wasn't like, I want to follow my family. I was nothing like that. I was always go with what my mind and my heart says. And I went with that. So I did that at 15. But of course, my mom was like, that's where you want to go to, this, that, and this. She was like, you need to find other options. I was like, okay, fine. And I had these other options and I knew I wasn't going to go there. But I knew what I was going to do, where I was going to go, or I knew part of it. And I made that decision for myself. And I still went and looked up at other schools for other people. And along my line, as time went on, and especially as I'm in the place that I'm in now, parts of this decisions I made to make sure other people in my life felt good about the decisions I made. Like, what is that? God tells us we're supposed to live for him, and yet I'm making decisions, making sure other people in my life are okay with that. Why are we making decisions based off, oh, our mom says this, this, and this? Is our mom speaking from a place of she actually knows what's going on? Or is she speaking from her own hurt and her own pain? Don't get caught up in a parent, a friend, or anybody else's emotions, situations, past situations, because when you got brought here by your parent, you didn't automatically ask to be brought here. You took the assignment, but you didn't ask to be brought here or however. And you don't owe anybody anything, not a parent. If a parent sacrificed, they sacrificed because that's what they wanted. But it is not your job or your life to live out anything for your parents, anything for anybody else, a lover, a friend, whatever. If somebody is not happy with the choice you've made in your life, that's not for them. That's you and God, for you and God to decide. Like I said, I went through the same thing. And you know what? I really didn't see that until probably the last few years, probably the last 5 years. It was in the last 5 years that when a decision I made didn't agree up with what my mom thought my life should look like or the decision I should make, and I get passive aggressiveness from her, or I'm doing everything wrong in my life, or because you don't agree with my life, you having a hard time talking or even hearing what somebody else has to say, and only your opinion is the opinion that matters because you know best. Nobody knows best for your life but you and God. I'm just going to be real with you. You, God, Spirit, however you want to put it. Nobody else can know best. Because there are things that have gone in your life that your parents don't even know about. Just like the mothers out there, my child would never do that. Next thing you know, your child can stab somebody. There's some things about your child you don't know. There's some things about some people you don't know or we don't know. And that's not for us as somebody to decide to put upon our issues on somebody else. So who are you living for? And that's something I had to ask myself and I am happy I asked myself, because I'm in a place that it may not be the best place, but I had to be here to release those people, to release those people's issues that they want to place on me. That's what ancestral curses is. When somebody wants to pass along their issues, that their unhealed trauma, by saying, oh, you need a man with money, maybe because they lived a life where they didn't have much money and they struggled. When the whole issue is what are you doing in that struggle? Why are you struggling? Sometimes we're struggling because we're not looking to see is how we're managing money or how we look at money. Sometimes we're struggling because we're not ready to see our part in the situation that we made and the situation that we chose. And to be honest, God takes us through those challenges, through those mistakes, through those issues, so we can either break them, heal them, or you can continue on with the cycle. The choice is up to you. The choice is straight up to you. You're going to make some wrong choices in your life. That's what this life is about. Making choices and learning. You're going to make some choices that as to why God says don't live with this person, or why God says no sex before marriage. It may not be the first time, but you're going to eventually learn it. You're going to learn as to how we have all these soul attachments or have all this. And when your parents are saying it, or when somebody else is saying it, you have the right to make your own decision, because maybe you need to learn something that they didn't learn, that they're just passing along the basic message, not really how they learned it and what they've healed, because some of them haven't healed it. Some people haven't healed those things that they're projecting onto you, and it is not for you to hold on to. So some of those challenges you have to go through, so you can either get rid of the burden somebody has tried to put on you, or you can again, go on with the cycle and continue to hold on to those burdens. And the reason I even brought this video up was because when I saw in the comments, they're like, oh, he's so toxic and he's so this. Why do you think she's attracted to that? Because her mom is very much like that. But of course, a person that is projecting that is not going to see if somebody's acting like that. That's a form of awareness that a lot of people don't want to have, ignore, or don't have. So it is time for you to be aware of what you need in your life, whether your mother agrees with it, whether your father agrees with it, friends, family, they may not agree with it. The only reason you need to make that decision is, are you harming somebody else? Yes, if it's going to come harm to you, you have to deal with that. And you have to be ready to deal with the consequences of whatever choice you make. You always have to. You always have to. Whatever choice you make, be ready to deal with them consequences. But hopefully, even in those consequences, you learn from those consequences. And you don't have to tell them the lesson. You don't owe them an explanation for any lesson you have or haven't learned. But my question still is, are you living it, and are you making these decisions from your heart, or are you making these decisions because your mom said this is wrong? That is wrong. You need a man with money. You need a man this way. This is what you have to have in a relationship for a relationship to work. There is no checkbox for a relationship. Everybody's relationship is not going to look the same. Everybody's dynamics is not going to look the same. It has to be the dynamics that are for you. I'm a person that's a loner. I'm not gonna say a popular loner. I'm a pretty popular loner. I just haven't told all my friends about these videos, but I'm a pretty person. I'm a person that goes out and I can hang with a lot of people, but I also love to be by myself. Some people might have called me a flake, but I like to be by myself. There are instances where maybe I've done too much. I had to learn that in college. I did too much, hung out all weekend or other weekends, and I'd be like, I can't even go out because my soul needs a rest. My mind, my heart needs a rest. It needs time by itself to relax and rejuvenate. And even with that point of I'm a loner, I was okay with making a lot of decisions. And that was something, even in the wrong decision, I am proud of where I am today. Even though it's not the place that I've been, but I'm proud that I've made those decisions for myself so that I can move on to a life that I'm happy about. A life that I'm pleasing God with. I'm pleasing spirit with, because I'm following what they've put in me and where they've guided me to go. So who are you living for? Who are you looking for in your decisions for your life? Because just because I quit my job and it offends somebody, why should it offend somebody the way I quit my job or the way I live my life? Why is that person offended? Most of the time, that offense is because of an issue they have with themselves. And that is not for me to hold or carry on. And that's something I've really had to learn, let go of, because there's parts of me that I want to help and heal other people. But it ain't for me to help and heal other people. They got to help and heal themselves. They got to do things for themselves. And I need to do things for myself. And that is where we are in the world at this point. Don't be where everybody else has to live their life for you or make a decision for your life. Don't get me wrong. There are some things of when it comes to robbery, stealing, killing, get that. Those aren't things I'm talking about. You know what you know what I'm talking about. I'm not telling people that if somebody sells, go out and harm. That's not what any of this is about. We don't harm people. We're not putting hexes against people. We're not putting anything against people. This is about us and our decisions for our life. Now, if your decision can harm other people, or maybe it does harm yourself, but you have to deal with what's going to happen in those consequences and be able to accept the consequences of your actions and deal with what comes with it. Because a lot of times those challenges that we're going through, so yeah, some of our parents know, oh, you shouldn't do that. And when we're hurt and not looking at our part in the hurt, a lot of people are like, oh, my parent was right. They might be right, but they may be right to an extent. That lesson was necessary. It's necessary for you and your family members to keep learning it over and over again because you still haven't gotten the lesson. All you're doing is passing on the pain because you haven't decided to step into that pain, see why you're in that pain, and maybe change your perspective about why you're there. Change your perspective about how you see money. Change your perspective about how you see relationships. Change your perspective about how you see work, your purpose, whatever. We are so busy saying, oh, my parent was right. But what are they right about? Yes, they're right to an extent. I can see why they're saying that. But there's something deeper that we don't want to look at. We just want to look at the surface of right or wrong. Some things are wrong, but there's a deeper lesson in there that we are missing. Yes, there's no sex before marriage, but why? Because you're tying your soul to people that you don't need to tie to. Because maybe you have somebody that's got depression and that's passing along to you. Why you don't do this? God allows some things so you can see as to why and understand why, or learn a lesson, or change the narrative on that actual thing. So this is not about parents being right or wrong. They're right in some instances and a lot of instances, but why is right or wrong the matter when we're still living out the same cycle over and over again? What are we missing? Ooh, she's right, but what are we missing? Ooh, this may be right, but what are you fully missing? You're missing a perspective change, a thought change, an understanding change of how we really look at these challenges and struggles that we go to. Because really, the only reason you've become into a struggle is yourself. Struggle is a push and pull. You got to be the one either pushing or pulling to be a part of the struggle. And you can choose to be a part of the struggle. And choosing to be a part of the struggle does not mean I go out and have to go get something else because you're going to fall into that struggle again. It means looking at it and see what part do I play? How am I reacting to this? How am I seeing this? Because it really may not be a struggle, but I'm making a struggle because of how I'm perceiving this as something bad. Instead of perceiving this as something, this is somewhere I can learn to be better within myself. This is something I can learn to not project the pain that I've been given on others. This is somewhere I can learn something or understand myself or somebody else. So don't get caught in whenever you make a decision that is a decision that you felt in your heart. And it could go down a wrong path, but that's a lesson you have to learn. Sometimes you got to get shot to get out that life. Sometimes you got to go through some things to get out of that and break a cycle. Sometimes you got to go through it yourself and change the perspective you see on it to break a cycle. Because a lot of us are wondering why do I have the same problem my mama has, the same problem my dad has, or I'm just doing the same thing and it's going on over and over. I acknowledged it and don't want to do that, but you're not changing your perspective on it. You're not really looking at it. You're just saying, oh yeah, that was bad. And that's it. Just like your parents did. And then you're going to pass along your kids. Don't do this, don't do that because of this, that, and this. Rather than passing along the healing part. Rather than passing along to see that these things are here to teach us, and it's going to be hard. You're going to have some rough spots, but in those spots, see what other things you can open up to, what other mindsets you can open up to, how you can view and perceive that. Because sometimes what's wrong for you, what happened wrong for you may not happen wrong for your child. It may not turn out like that. Whatever turned out for you does not mean it's automatically going to turn out like that for your child. There's a deeper lesson that both of y'all miss maybe. So don't get caught up in living your life for anybody else. Your life is your life alone. And every mistake is your mistake to own. Every decision is your decision to own. And it's not even a mistake. Sometimes it's a decision for you to go through and for you to understand why you're here, what you're here to do. Because those challenges they help you understand you and God more. Spirit, however you want to stay. They help strengthen their connection to God's spirit the rest of this life, however you see it. But don't get caught up in, my mom. Life isn't about checking a box and saying, I've got a great house, boop. My husband acts and looks like this, boop, which could be a facade. The house could be a facade. This could be, so many people are stuck in checking a box. And if my life looks this way, it's great. That's not what this life is about. Just because you live here, look that way, this, that, and this, I'm at this job and I've got this degree does not make a life better or your life better. You can get stuck in that all day. Degrees are helpful, but degrees don't get stuck in, if I have this title, that's the only way I see that I'm worthy to do this. That's not always the case. That is not always the case. Some of these people with degrees are more fraudulent than some of them without. Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Get caught in your path, where you're supposed to go. A lot of these generational curses is because we're just repeating what our parents repeated, even though that may not be a cycle of what we're supposed to do, or we're trying to do what our parents did because maybe their life worked out great in a certain way. But that doesn't mean that you have to go down that same path or your life has to look that same way. Because there's some kids that I've seen that lived a great life and they're trying to live the life of their parents and they unhappy as hell. Don't do that. Your life is between you and spirit, God, however you put it. Let him lead you. Let him show you what he's got in store for you. Show him where he's trying to take you. Don't get caught up in what everybody else says you're supposed to live, or your parents projecting their issues or what they've sacrificed or what they've done. They chose to do that sacrifice. You didn't tell them, you need to sacrifice for me so I can play this sport. You need to do this for I can. There was something they saw and they pushed themselves. They're adults. They chose that for you and for themselves. Don't live somebody else's life. It is time for you to live your own life and live for what God has told you to do, because living somebody else's life is going to have you in a trap that you won't like, where you're ready to pull out your hair and you're losing your mind because you're trying to make sure somebody else is happy with your life rather than you be happy with your own. Rather you be having joy and understanding of your own life. So stop living for anybody else. Stop trying to make sure your parents are pleased, your friends are pleased, or anybody else is pleased with the choices you make, because it's yours. You have to live it. They're not living your life. They're just telling you what to do and going back onto their other parts that they may be miserable in, or other parts that they may not even like about their own life, but they're just projecting that onto you. Don't get caught up in those projections. Only get caught up in you and where you need to go and how you need to do it. And if your path takes longer than you think it should, or you're not in the same timeline, let that go. There is no timeline for anybody's life, how it should be and what should happen. There is no set timeline. God works miracles in every way. Spirit, God, however you see it, works miracles in every and any way. And us getting caught in those things of it's supposed to be like this, and at this time I'm supposed to have this, don't get caught in that. At this time I'm supposed to be the owner of a home, don't get caught in that. Because something you may be working on, you could be the owner of a multi-million-dollar business later on. You could be. Stop living and worrying about if everybody else is pleased with what you're doing. You're not going to be able to please everybody or have everybody understand or have everybody even see what you're doing. Half the people can't even see what you're doing because you only know parts and pieces, or because their view is so limited they can only see what they can see, and this is only okay. As long as everybody says it's okay, then that means it's okay. That's not somebody who can think on their own, critically see forward, have vision to see past themselves and where things could go in the future if they open this door. That's a visionary. That's somebody that's new. That can see something. Don't get caught up in everybody else's life or what everybody else says you're supposed to do for your life. Get caught up in what you're supposed to do for your life and how you're supposed to live and what you're supposed to exhibit and give off and show everybody else. You are here for you and God and what he's told you to do, not for everybody else and what they think you should do. They struggling in their own stuff. Everybody got some issue in their own stuff. And then they own, right? And an enlightened person who's giving you advice wouldn't tell you what direction they would go. They would ask what is best for you and what do you feel in your gut, in your heart, and what have you prayed about and what have you and God talked about. They ain't gonna sit here and tell you what to do. So start making the decision for you of who you're going to live for. Because at the end of the day, when they're gone or something goes down in your life, they're gonna be like, well, I thought it was gonna be a good idea. They're not gonna be able to. You have to live with those consequences of every choice that you make. You're the one. They don't. You're the one who has to live with those consequences. You're the one who has to go through the things you have to go through. And don't go through for unnecessary shit for other people, because that is a headache in and of itself. Don't do that. You over here got a headache because you followed somebody else's mind. Follow your own heart and mind. Let God work in that. Allow yourself to hear yourself and hear your own intuition and what he's put in you and where he's told you to go, because you already have the map. He's put it in. You just got to open up and look through a little buried treasure because you got so much shit over it. So take care of you, understand you, and live for you and God. Because at the end of the day, that's all you're supposed to live for, and that's all you're supposed to understand. And that's all you're supposed to give. And when you come up out of that, people are going to be like, oh, well, now I see what you're talking about. Oh, well, you have something healthy. Oh, well. And then they may be jealous or upset about where you're at because of the decision you decided to make. You're going to deal with that as well. So at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to please everybody. You're not going to be able to please. Hell, it's hard enough trying to figure out what you need for yourself. So go from there and figure out what you need and where you need to be and shine that light and be at peace in that. Because we are not here for everybody, anybody, or to make sure somebody else is happy because of what they've sacrificed and done. They have to live with the sacrifices they made and know they made the sacrifices and did their best they could, and you can go on and do what you need to do. Her mom made those sacrifices for her to have a better life. and it looks like she has a better life. But is she happy with where she's at? Not if everybody else is happy where she's at. We're not here to please everybody in this life. Only spirit and God, that's all we're here to please. Because we all leaving out here the same way. We all don't have to answer to the same thing. Make that decision and do what is best for you. Do what you need to do, and make sure that even in those hard spots, in those challenges, in those mistakes or wrong directions you think you made, you don't always make a wrong direction. A lot of times it's going to be a better understanding of where you are, what you need, and better understanding of how things look, like how relationships look, how money looks, how life should look. We keep looking at those things as like, this is the wrong way to do it. This is the right way to do it. Some people have to figure some things out for themselves. And God is taking them through that challenge because there's something deep within them that needs to be rectified, healed, and a thought process changed about it. You're here for you and for what God has put in you. Don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in everybody else's issues or what everybody else is trying to pass along to you. That is not for you to accept. That is for you to let go and pass along. Actually, not even pass along. Block that shit and go on. Because it's not here for you to fix everybody else's or heal everybody else's shit. They should have healed their own shit. You have to heal. You have some stuff for yourself of your own to heal. So do what is best for you in your heart. Whether it's they think it's a mistake or not, do what is best, because you are going to learn who you are and who God has made you and what he has put in you along that way, and that is for you. Thank you guys for your time. I know this is a random video, but thank you for coming to see me and hang out with me and hear what I have to say. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. I know I don't say that every video, but you know what I mean and what I would like you to do. Love you guys. You guys have a nice weekend.